Hello and welcome to another Make Mingle craft tutorial video. Today we are going to be making clothespin wreaths. Our colors are going to be in greens, which work really well for a general spring wreath, but can also be great for a St. Patrick's Day wreath. Now we are going to be doing a smaller version, which allows us to have a bit less of the materials needed. So I'm going to go over what materials we will need to give you an idea of what you're looking for. If you decided to want to do a larger wreath, you're just going to need more of the materials, just easy enough to work with. So we're going to need a floral wreath. This is going to have the 4 different tines on it, or whatever you want to call these. And you will need all of those to be able to get the look that we will be doing. Most of them that you find out there, they're going to look like this. The size that we are working with is going to be the 12-inch. And for the 12-inch wreath, you're going to be using about 60 clothespins. And then we are using the wood clothespins because the tape that we are using will adhere and look nicer with those. You can probably use plastic, but I don't know how well that would work. And these are the standard size, so they're about 8 inches or about 3 inches long. Additionally, with the wood, you have the option of being able to stain or paint them if you decided to do so. With that mentioned, if you wanted to, you could also paint your wreath, spray paint, regular paint, whatever, and that would give you a different color for your base. I find that the dark green is going to work fine with what we're doing, since we are doing green clothespins on top of that. But if you wanted to further personalize your craft, this is a great way to do it. Also, if you put it all together and you decide you want to do it after, it's very easy to take it apart again. And finally, you're going to need washi tape. We are using 3 different colors in what was called a kiwi green, kind of a lime color. We have polka dots, zigzag, and stripe. And you're going to need about 15 feet total for the specific craft amount that we are going to be working on. For those that have our craft kits, you're going to know that your tape is on a dowel. It will still work very easily. Washi tape is really handy because you can pick it up and adjust it as needed, and it still sticks pretty well. The more you pick it up and move it, the less it's going to stay sticking though, so keep that in mind, that even though it's really great to work with and adjust if needed, you don't want to do it too much because you don't want to ruin it. Additionally, if you have our craft kits, there is extra washi. There's probably about 2 inches extra, so you have a bit to work with. Washi does tear very easily for the craft itself, but that means that when you are pulling it off, it might tear. So just be mindful while you're working with the washi tape that you don't want to accidentally tear it when you don't need it to be torn. For those that have our kits, there's also at least 1 extra clothespin, which means that you have plenty to work with what you're doing. So your very first step you're going to probably want to do, this isn't required because, especially if you are working with the craft kits that we provided, because everything's portioned to how much you're going to actually be using. But if you separate all of your clothespins into equal groups before you get started, especially if you are working with not with a kit and you're using a different size wreath, you might want to sit down and put all of your clothespins on so you know exactly how many you're going to be using. Split up all of your clothespins into 3 equal piles, or equal piles for however many different tapes or paper you are going to be using for this project, so that you are able to keep control how many you're actually covering. So to put our washi tape on, we're going to carefully pull back our tape, and then I'm going to try to pull this up closer. You just put it down at the edge and then go all the way to the end. And washi tape, as I've said, is really good about being able to adjust. So I didn't put it flat on this end, but I was able to adjust it a bit. And I do want this kind of centered. So you can see I'm making sure it is relatively centered on there. Adjust it so it lays flat and it's centered all the way to the end. And then you just tear. That's the first one. Now, as you can see, it is wider on both sides. So then you just flatten it out. This side has the bump. I just push it so that it rips and flatten that side. And then I fold down the edges. And that's one done. Do another one here. Lay it out. Pull down. Make sure it's flattened out. And tear. So I actually found that I would tear all of them. This one, you can see it has some lines on it. I'm going to flip it over. The side still has some lines, but they're not as dark as that one. All right, now that all of our clothespins are covered, we are ready to move on to the next step. But before we do that, I do want to show you one thing. I know I have one. I have a couple actually. Okay. So if you find that you have clothespins that are actually broken, like this one, I have a couple of them in here. So long as they are not ruining the integrity of the pin itself, that mechanism that keeps it clamped down, they still will work perfectly fine for this craft. So I would actually recommend using them unless you can't make it work. But now that I've made that comment, let's go ahead and start. I have my 3 different colors all separated into separate piles so that I can just keep my pattern going all the way through. And I am going to be starting here. And you're just going to be going first. Well, I'm going to start first on that inner spot here. Those first 2, just clamping it right onto there. Your second one clamps onto these 2. And you're just going to go back and forth between those 2 different sets all the way around. And you want to try to keep them relatively tight, because the tighter they are, the more they hide the backside. And you want to be able to finish on these 2 for each section. You want to finish here because it is easier to squeeze in an extra pin on these 2 than it is on these 2. So now that I have that, I'm going to spread these out just a little bit and just adjust them so they look relatively nice. And as I said, this just takes a little bit of finagling to get them to look how you want them to look. But then once you have that set, you just keep going. All right, I have one left over. I know I have a little bit of space here, so now I'm going to go through and kind of tidy up and kind of get everything squished together. This is where I need to end. And there you go. It is as simple as that. It is fun, easy. As you can see, you can easily take this back apart if you wanted to. So you could do different sets of clothespins with different colors for different seasons or holidays. Take it apart, put it back together for all those different seasons. You can leave it just like this and hang it off of here when you hang it up. Or you can take ribbon or twine or hemp or anything that gives the look that you are looking for, and you can wrap it around the whole thing, or you can just wrap it around that piece once more. Either way would work quite well and will be able to create a fun and different look. You can use ribbon to create a bow. You can use different things to add to it to create your own extra decal on it, whether it's just to make it look fuller or to add a little bit more personality to it. There's lots of ways to be able to further personalize this, but this basic step is still a very fun craft. And I've even had people that said this size would be really cool to put a candle in the middle for on your table. So you can be very creative with this wreath craft to do all kinds of different fun things, particularly if you're doing different sizes. But I hope you enjoy doing this craft. I would love it if you would take a picture and share it on social media and tag the FRL Marshfield Public Library. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter, and we would love to see your finished crafts. Until next time, thank you.